This is the Infinite Moment Podcast, where we discuss topics that focus on stress relief solutions. Welcome to another episode of the Infinite Moment Podcast. We're going to get into the power of nature and how it can help us heal. We're going to look at several articles that kind of explain what it is about nature that has the ability or the power to cause our bodies levels of stress release or resolving some issues or grounding or balancing. A lot of different things that nature is able to do for us, as we are ourselves part of nature. So we're really going to try to see how much we can dive into this topic, what we can pull out and learn from it, how we can implement these into our own lives and see which ones kind of work for us. What's great about nature is that it's everywhere. So no matter if you have a lake near you or a forest where you can go hiking, or even just a park in your area, there's many ways that you can incorporate nature into your life, without even having to travel that far. So keep that in mind when we kind of talk about this topic, how it can be adapted to your situation. And maybe you also may be inspired to actually travel out to other countries or continents and actually explore the nature in other areas. So a lot that can be learned from this topic. Let's go ahead and start getting right into it. How Nature Heals, from Psychology Today. Among all their marvels, trees are good listeners. They stand silently and courteously, holding space for all our thoughts, the happy ones and the sad ones. They've learned mercy, they've earned wisdom from observing life unfold. They've seen and heard it all. Sometimes they will let the wind chime in. Leaves will whisper, branches will nod, birds will offer their good sense. Beetles will poke their curious heads out of a cracked bark and damp soil. But the trees, unperturbed and dignified, will keep listening to our stories, even before we put them into words. For thousands of years, humans have turned to nature for their ailments. By now, the benefits of pulling away from the grip of our stressful urban lifestyles and stepping into the arms of nature are well documented by science. Take, for example, the growing popularity of Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. In recent years, countless forest goers around the world have been enjoying the therapeutic effects of this Japanese practice. Whether they come in groups or alone, in Europe or in Asia, the forests reward their visitors. As writer John Muir penned, "In every walk with nature, one receives far more than he seeks." As a forest therapy practitioner from Ireland, Shirley Gleason regularly witnesses some of these well-being effects firsthand. Gleason sees her role as a facilitator, helping her clients establish a deep connection with nature. Her biggest lesson, she tells me, is to know when to get out of the way and let nature do its work. "I may have a whole outdoor session planned and the group just wants to lie in the moss or sit with the tree," she says. At first glance, forest bathing might look similar to the leisurely nature visits you indulge in on sunny weekends. It's the same walk along the same trails with the same hiking shoes strapped on your feet. But there's a twist. The roles between you and the forest are reversed. Now you are the listener. Now you are the one offering the woods your doting presence. It's usually the treetops that keep an eye over you as you trudge through labyrinths of ancient roots and pass by the rumbling creek that lives between the straight-spined pines, barely touched by their grace. Now you are there, truly there, to hear the trees and to taste the air. What happens next? After initial self-consciousness, forest bathers appear to let go of their everyday roles and just be, observes Gleason. The sights, smells, and sounds of the forest might bring up happy childhood memories of possibilities and imagination. Various emotions might arise: playfulness, joy, creativity, sometimes even sadness from the realization that they had not laid on the forest floor or felt the rain on their faces since they were children, notes Gleason. Overall, as mental chatter subsides and clarity settles, her group leaves the forest lighter, smiling and rejuvenated. On the other side of the earth, forest therapist Nagasiono invites her clients to engage all their senses as they take in the splendor of the Japanese forest. In the past 13 years, she has guided over 2,000 people to experience the wonders of Shinrin-yoku. The most important thing is to relax in the forest, she says. That makes it easier to enjoy the forest as a multi-sensory feast. In the meantime, while our senses are absorbed in smelling, seeing, hearing, touching, tasting the nature around us, a cascade of health benefits floods through our minds and bodies. According to research, the benefits of forest bathing are far-ranging. For example, forest bathing has been shown to increase the activity and number of immune cells that are important for fighting viruses, bacteria, and even tumors. Studies show that higher levels of these natural killer cell activity is associated with reduced cancer risk, reduced blood pressure and heart rate, thus have preventative effects on hypertension, reduced blood glucose levels in the type 2 diabetes patients, increased serums that have anti-tumorigenous activity and have cardioprotective and anti-obesity properties. Balance the nervous system by increasing the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system and dampening the activity of the sympathetic nervous system. Reduce stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. Reduce anxiety, depression, anger, mental fatigue. Increase vigor. Improve creativity. Improve sleep quality. One of the mechanisms that facilitate these therapeutic benefits comes directly from the forest air itself. Phytoncides are volatile organic compounds that are exuded from trees and plants and act as protective agents against harmful insects. Inhaling these natural forest fragrances drives some of the positive effects of the forest on our psychological functioning. Then there's the enchanting beauty of nature. Sometimes it is like stepping into another world where time seems to slow down and endless possibilities emerge, says Gleason. Entering forest time prompts our bodies to get attuned to the rhythms of nature, Gleason explains, calming and slowing our minds, refreshing our spirits. Perhaps that's the secret of nature that poets have urged us to embrace: patience. If you are thinking of giving forest bathing a try, Gleason has these practical tips. Turn off your phone. Bring layers of clothing. Go to the forest with an open mind and an open heart. Engage all your senses. Don't get surprised if initially some frustrations arise, especially if you are a very active person. Slowing down can do that. Give yourself permission to take time out for yourself without having to achieve any goals. Let the forest do the work. Sometimes the awe that the forest wilderness can evoke in humans is similar to that of the boundless star-scattered night sky. There's a mystery in the presence of nature's majesty, an inkling of something bigger than ourselves, an awareness of not knowing. But unlike other mysteries, nature leaves us with profound feelings of belonging. For Ono, that the fact that we are part of nature is the biggest lesson from the forest. In a way then, standing with the trees, listening to the birds, smelling the pines, touching the moss, tasting the moist air, is a homecoming. And if you find yourself enthralled by the forest welcome, looking for ways to grasp onto the magic around you, keep in mind Ono's gentle advice. Try not to gain from the forest, but instead to notice the changes within you. Those changes might just be a sign that the magic has found you. Alright, so that was a very descriptive article there. For me, it put me in the mindset of actually being on like a bike trail. I have a bike trail kind of close to where I live, and sometimes I'll bike through there. There's a lot of trees, and there's a river that kind of goes through, and you'll see people hiking and things like that. So it painted the picture of kind of being in a situation like that where you're in nature and it's quiet, and you may hear the breeze, or like the chirping of birds, and it really sets that calm environment where your thoughts can slow down and you can get some clarity and peace. Another indication that nature is so powerful is even if you go into like YouTube and search for like calm noises or like calming atmosphere, a lot of times you're going to get nature scenes um, and nature sounds. So that just speaks to that power that nature has to help us relax and relieve stress. And to me, that's very natural because obviously we're a part of nature. So it's like returning back to what you know. You're going to feel comfortable. You're going to feel relaxed and more in tune when you return to that which you are ultimately from. All right, so it did mention some health conditions that it also can help with, which include reducing glucose levels, improving and balancing out your nervous system, among other things as well. So, not only potential psychological effects from being in nature, but also physical health effects can be gained as well. With that being said, let's move on to the next article for today. From outofstress.com, 8 ways being in nature heals your mind and body. There's something about nature that soothes, relaxes, and heals your entire being. Perhaps it's a combination of oxygen, rich air, beautiful visuals, relaxing sounds, and the overall positive vibrations that you pick up from the surroundings. All of this helps your mind let go of its usual worries and helps it become completely receptive and present to the beauty and abundance around it. Even research now confirms the healing effects of nature, right from lowering blood pressure to healing tumors and even cancer. That's what we're going to look at in this article. Here are 8 ways spending time in nature heals you, according to research. Number 1. Being in nature lowers your blood pressure and improves heart health. A study published in the Journal of Cardiology found that being in nature, even for a few hours, has a calming effect on the mind and body, lowering blood pressure, and also reducing the levels of stress hormones like cortisol in the bloodstream. With the reduction in cortisol, the body automatically returns to the parasympathetic mode where healing and restoration take place. These results are even more profound when a person is consciously interacting with nature, like listening to nature sounds or even silence, or watching for a beautiful plant, flower, trees, greenery, streams, etc. Another research done in Japan found that a day trip in the forest significantly reduced blood pressure among other positive health benefits. They also found a reduction in urinary noradrenaline, NT-proBNP, and dopamine levels. Both noradrenaline and NT-proBNP are known to raise blood pressure. Most researchers attribute this to the presence of chemical and biological agents in forest atmospheres, which interact with the body, providing positive health benefits. For example, forest atmospheres are rich in negative ions and biochemicals like phytoncides that, when inhaled, have a healing effect on your body. Number 2. Being in nature helps reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. In a 2015 study, researchers found that brains of people who spent an hour walking in nature were calmer as compared to those who spent an hour walking in an urban setting. It was seen that the subgenual prefrontal cortex, which is an area of the brain associated with negative rumination, quiets down when being in nature. Another research conducted in Korea found that people who merely looked at natural scenes or images for a few minutes showed a marked reduction in activity of a brain region called the amygdala, in contrast to people who looked at urban images. Amygdala is an important part of the brain that plays a major role in processing emotions, mainly fear and anxiety. If you have an overactive amygdala, you will have a heightened fear response leading to anxiety-related issues. A relaxed amygdala, which happens when in nature, also reduces symptoms of stress and anxiety. Another study published by the Central Institute of Mental Health links greater exposure to urban environments with increased inactivity in the amygdala. The study links higher instances of anxiety disorder, depression, and other negative behavior in the cities with an overactive amygdala. All of this is ample proof that being in nature can heal anxiety and depression. Number 3. Nature heals and restores our brain. Stress causes your brain to be alert at all times, even during sleep. Cortisol, a stress hormone that is released in the bloodstream in response to stress, blocks the proper production of melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, and hence you do not get proper sleep. Eventually, this leads to an overworked brain or cognitive fatigue. that is in dire need of rest. Research done by cognitive psychologist David Strayer indicates that being in nature helps lower activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is the brain's command center, and helps this region relax and restore itself. Strayer also found that people who spent long hours in nature showed lower levels of theta, which is 4 to 8 Hz, and alpha, 8 to 12 Hz brain activity, suggesting that their brains had rested. According to Strayer, the opportunity to balance all that technology with time spent in nature, unplugged from digital services, has the potential to rest and restore our brains, improve our productivity, reduce our stress levels, and make us feel better. A well-rested brain is obviously more creative, better at problem solving, and has improved short-term and working memory. Number 4. Nature helps strengthen immunity. A study done by Japanese researchers suggests that when we breathe in phytoncides, which is an invisible chemical that some plants and trees emit, it helps lower blood pressure, reduces cortisol, and improves your immunity. The study found a marked increase in the number and activity of natural killer cells by more than 50%, and even anti-cancer proteins for subjects exposed to forest environments for more than a few hours. The study also found that the results lasted for over 7 days after the exposure. Natural killer cells play an important role in fighting off infections and also act against tumor cells in the body. Some studies also suggest that forest atmospheres are rich in plant-derived essential oils, beneficial bacteria, and negative charged ions that can help improve your gut health as well as aid anti-tumor and anti-cancer activities in the body. In fact, in Japan, there's a tradition known as Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, where people are encouraged to spend time in nature to improve their health and to quicken healing. Number 5. Nature helps prevent onset of diabetics and obesity. A study conducted by Dr. King Lee and 6 other researchers from the Nippon Medical School found that walking in nature for around 4 to 6 hours can help in the increased production of adiponectin and DHEA-S in the adrenal cortex. Adiponectin is a protein hormone that has a range of health-promoting functions in the body, including regulating glucose levels and fatty acid breakdown. A low level of adiponectin has been linked to obesity, diabetics, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, depression, and ADHD in adults. Number 6. Nature-inspired awe can help heal PTSD and other mental health issues. According to a study conducted by Craig L. Anderson, feelings of awe, those generated while being in nature, for example, looking at an ancient redwood tree or a beautiful waterfall, had a profoundly healing effect on the mind and body. Anderson also found that nature-inspired awe can have a healing effect on those suffering from PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. According to Anderson, when you feel awe, the usual brain activity reduces while allowing for the expression of other positive emotions. According to Paul Piff, who is a professor of psychology at UC Irvine, awe is the perception of something so physically or conceptually vast that it transcends your view of the world, and you need to find ways to accommodate it. From the spiritual perspective, one can conclude that experiencing awe also brings you completely in the present moment, so you become free from the usual chitter-chatter of the brain. Instead, you become fully present and mindful, and hence healing ensues. Number 7. Nature helps quicker recovery from psychological stress. Researchers at Stockholm University in Sweden found that subjects exposed to sounds of nature show quicker recovery from psychological stress as compared to those exposed to urban noises. And number 8. Being in nature helps reduce inflammation. Inflammation in the body can lead to various health issues, including cardiovascular diseases as well as hypertension. A study published in the Journal of Cardiology found that a few hours of walking in nature significantly brought down the levels of serum IL-6, which is a pro-inflammatory cytokine in the body. Hence, being in nature can also heal inflammation. These are just some ways nature heals your mind and body based on existing research. There are definitely many more ways that are yet to be studied. When was the last time you spent time in nature? If it has been long, make it a priority to pay a visit to nature, to rest, and to rejuvenate in her lap. It will definitely be worth every moment. All right, here's some information about nature that comes from ecoresolution.earth. What are nature-based therapies? There are multiple different practices which are based upon the link between the living natural world and our health and happiness. We are part of a larger breathing ecosystem, and so whilst many may at first be skeptical of nature's based therapies, it is actually quite logical that our well-being can be improved by reconnecting with nature. The following are just a few examples, but don't let yourself become overwhelmed by these different variations. The most important takeaway is that we can improve our physical and mental health through nature connection. This message and practice should be accessible for everyone. Whether it is as grand as a hike in the Swiss Alps or as small as planting a seed, from bird watching to forest bathing to simply sitting on the grass and feeling the dirt beneath your hands, nature heals. How will we make sure we heal it in return? Horticultural therapy. Horticultural therapy helps improve memory, cognitive abilities, language skills, and socialization, and helps develop the techniques which can help people to learn new skills or regain those that are lost. In physical rehabilitation, horticultural therapy can help strengthen muscles and improve coordination, balance, and endurance. In vocational horticultural therapy settings, people learn to work independently, problem solve, and follow directions. Whilst the American Horticultural Therapy Association specifies a few features which make a garden therapeutic, such as gently graded accessible entrances and paths, raised planting beds and containers, and a sensory-oriented plant selection focused on color, texture, and fragrance, many of us can experience the therapeutic qualities of a garden in a variety of contexts. If you're lucky enough to have a garden area or lawn, think about how you can embrace nature through planting a variety of plants and making space for wildlife. In the UK, over the past decade, the number of gardens which have helped pave over to create parking space or patios has tripled. Not only will tending a small garden decrease risk of flash flooding and help wildlife biodiversity, but the health benefits of this horticultural haven are significant. If you don't have a garden, shared gardens, allotments, and local horticultural groups can be a great way to experience the benefits of watching something grow from a tiny seed. There are many urban gardening groups popping up, enabling people to meet others from their community, to grow their own food, and to get their hands dirty. Animal-assisted therapy. Does petting a dog or stroking your cat calm you down? A lot of us don't need to be told that animals can affect our mood. There's a reason the internet is full of videos and photos of animals. But beyond the pet obsession in many countries, studies have found a proven connection between animal-assisted therapy and improved well-being. Studies on animal-assisted therapy found positive outcomes and improved emotional well-being in those with autism, medical conditions, or behavioral issues. Another review found that animal-assisted therapy can be helpful for those battling illnesses like depression, schizophrenia, or addiction. Whilst many also joke that they like animals better than people, there's research looking at how animals can provide a sense of calm, comfort, or safety and divert attention away from a stressful situation and toward one that provides pleasure. Rather than a case of disliking people, perhaps it is the perspective that animals can give us of being part of a living ecosystem beyond the human-centric focus many individualist societies prioritize. The fact that animals lead to far more than a simply warm, fuzzy feeling also links back to our look at ecophilia. We have an inherent connection with all living beings. On a small scale, how about offering to walk your neighbor's dog, volunteering at a local animal shelter, or discovering the joys of bird watching? Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. Most of us are familiar with the concept of sunbathing, but have you ever thought of forest bathing? Dr. King Lee, author of Forest Bathing, How Trees Can Help You Find Health and Happiness, writes, in Japan we practice something called forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku. Shinrin in Japanese means forest, and yoku means bath. So Shinrin-yoku means bathing in the forest atmosphere, or taking in the forest through our senses. Even a small amount of time in nature can have an impact on our health. A 2-hour forest bath will help you to unplug from technology and slow down. It will bring you into the present moment and distress and relax you. Numerous studies I've conducted have shown that Shinrin-yoku has real health benefits. When was the last time you went for a walk through a woodland area for no reason other than to soak it all in? Nature meditations. Many of us are increasingly aware of the benefits of meditation and mindfulness. Meditation and mindfulness can help reduce stress and improve our peace of mind. Whilst many find that meditating outdoors helps to clear the mind and to reconnect with a sense of greater unity, nature meditations are a particular practice that can improve well-being by allowing us to connect to nature and to develop a sense of unity with the living world. From poet and author of Wake in the Wild, Mindfulness and Nature as a Path of Self-Discovery, Mark Coleman, take some time to sit quietly under a tree or bask in warm sunlight. Let your senses drift open and outward. Breathe through every pore of your skin and soak up the ambience, the cadence, and the spirit of this place. Feel into the fact that you're part of this living, breathing ecosystem. Whilst the practice of nature meditations may be new to you, the power of being fully present with nature is ancient knowledge. Just consider the following verse by Han Shan, written over 1400 years ago on Cold Mountain in China. Today I sat before the cliff, sat a long time till mist had cleared. A single thread the clear stream runs cold. 1,000 yards the green peaks lift their heads. White clouds, the morning light is still. Moon rise, the lamp of night drifts upward. Body free from dust and stain. What cares could trouble my mind? And finally, we come to ecotherapy. Ecotherapy is the name given to a wide range of treatment programs which aim to improve your mental and physical well-being through doing outdoor activities in nature. Ecotherapy is based on the theories of ecopsychology. Ecotherapy helps people connect with nature to aid in dealing with physical and mental illnesses. This idea of reconnection seeks to remind humans that we are part of ecosystems rather than separate from them. From an ecotherapy perspective, the health, physical and mental, of a human being is viewed in the context of the health of the earth and its natural ecosystems. Broadly speaking, it is an area of psychology that embraces ecology and aims to be holistic in theory and practice. Beyond this academic research, an important element of ecotherapy is that it is about healing in tandem with nature, not just taking the benefits from nature and not returning any benefits back to it. So how does this affect me? Mental and physical health elements vary from person to person, and what benefits and heals one person may not be so effective for the next. But what is evident is that nature should be viewed as an integral part of all human well-being and health. This is precisely why we must fight for the right to access nature, why we must maintain and preserve our local nature, why we must advocate for rewilding in urban areas, and why we must heal and protect nature as it heals and protects us in return. To close, consider this quotation from an 1862 issue of The Atlantic. Think of a man swinging dumbbells for his health, when those springs are bubbling up in far-off pastures unsought by him. Henry David Thoreau. Seek your pastures. Alright, so a lot to be gained from all of those articles. I liked how they tied in that not only is it about nature healing us, but it's also important for us to also try and heal nature in return. So keep that in mind. Obviously, if you're in a dense urban area, that kind of goes against the whole principle of what nature has to offer us. So it's important for us to sometimes return to nature, and when we do, we should have enough respect that we are trying to give back to that nature as it gives to us. So it's a lot of studies out there that are starting to show the effects that nature really does have on our health, which makes sense as we are part of nature, as those articles also describe. But it's really interesting, and it's one of those things, once again, like so often, just try it for yourself, whether it's going to a lake, going to a forest to take a hike, or even just a bike trail. Even just bird watching in your own front or backyard can provide multiple benefits when it comes to your health, all provided by the beauty of nature. So a lot of great articles there. We're going to wrap it up, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.